And we're back. I'm Ross here with here with Theologies.
So,
Today is MissionOlogy. I'm here with Clint. Bruce.
MissionOlogy.
I'm here with Clint Bruce and Pete Perry.
Pete.
Here we go.
Hey, you know who's not here today? Bill Sweet.
Yeah. Where's he at this week?
I sent him to a abandoned gas and oil platform in the Gulf.
Yeah.
Right now.
He's
I told
probably
him.
by himself.
Yeah, and it's pretty chilly, so he's gonna be super mad
Yeah.
when he
That
gets
sounds
back.
fun.
Yeah, he missed the Snowmageddon though, or as Pete calls it, Snowrona.
Snowrona.
Snowvid-19.
That was an
Snowvid,
an exciting few days for you, picking up posts on
Dude.
some I remember why I hate this now.
I remember. I know. Yeah,
Dude,
that was 12 hours ago.
My wife wouldn't let me wear shorts and flip flops, and I was like, my rage will melt all this ice and snow.
Did it?
No, not at all.
No,
I tried.
I was driving one day to work, talking to Pete on the phone about one of our other projects, and when he said Snowrona, what was it?
Snowvid-19.
Snowvid. I almost crashed, man, because it was still during Snowvid, But it was so funny. But today we're talking about Operation Neptune Sphere.
Neptune Spear.
I don't know if y'all remember that.
A little bit.
Not too long ago, in 2011, this is the operation that took out Osama bin Laden. Tasked by some of the America's most highly trained special operations contract or help me out operators.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Sailors.
Dev Group, sailors. Dev Group got the bid. Do you think? Let me just stop. Do you think that the reason that they were tagged for that was because Mike Mullins was a Navy guy? Or do you
No, I think that I think there's a whole symphony of reasons that go into who get choices, and sometimes it can be as like, hey, who's positioned for it, who can respond to it, who's been the nearest thing to it, where's exfil, all these other things. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into making those decisions that I think are, it's an interesting science. I mean, when you got these, when everybody's good, like I mean, when you look at it, you're like, hey, who we've got, I've got Jerry Rice and Calvin Johnson and Julio Jones, and and all these just like if you had the best receivers of all time, like who do you throw it to?
Sure.
And there's going to be some kind of supply chain or some influential directive that's going to kind of, and serendipity may be in there a little bit, but I know everybody fought hard to put themselves in the position to be the right pick of that.
Yeah. Okay. So this was he was in Abbottabad in a large compound, and there's a long CIA operation to kind of determine whether or not this in fact was or at least had a good chance.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I think that they were going off like the probability, kind of playing a numbers game because there was no definitiveness to it, and the CIA had apparently launched a lot of programs to try and help further that identity. So eventually, it did take place in April of 11. I remember because I had just gotten out, and I was laying in bed, and the president made an announcement, and
You're like, son of a.
yeah, my dad was like, "What do you think it is?" I'm like, "It's got to be him.
It's got to be the big man.
Yeah, the GOAT with respect to Taliban." So
I thought they had found the hidden treasure behind Mount Rushmore. Is what I thought it was going to be. We found it.
yeah,
We did it.
The hidden vault. We got it. Nicolas Cage was right.
Yep, he's vindicated.
Like he always is.
yeah, that's funny because it's true, right? There's definitely something back there.
100%.
Yeah, so they left.
Nicolas Cage isn't just messing around with just making any movie.
So
He's always trying to make a point.
It says, though, that they left for Bagram, but I know that they took off from Asadabad, or Jalalabad, excuse me, which is a little bit further north and east. But do you think that these guys were already in country, or they were plucked from out of country to be brought in specifically for this?
I don't really know.
I would speculate they might have paused their missions, their full mission cycle. So a real world example, we're out running and gunning, and then we got a tasking. We can talk about it now because some other guys already blabbed about it, but to go do personnel recovery into Iran. So they came to our MSOT. We were super busy. We were doing 4 or 5.
MSOT stands for
Marine Special Operations Team. Yep.
Okay.
Good call. My bad.
Yeah.
And we were doing 4 or 5 level 1 con ops. So that's a little bit more on the dangerous side.
Yeah.
Every single month. And they said, pause.
It's like that. Hey guys, when I say be careful, I mean really, really.
Yeah.
Like this time, seriously, check your
even
stuff.
know what
Yeah,
level
it's got to
one
be
is.
bad. Yeah. So they pressed pause on that. And for about 10, 11 days, 8 of us, the most senior guys from that team, met up with a SEAL 06 and then 4 PJs. And we practiced for 10, 11 days straight in Osprey's full mission profile, cutting dummies out of cars to replicate if an aircraft went down.
Yeah.
Full thing, right? And
I mean,
then
you're talking like Jaws Life and Quickie Saws,
abs,
and
the full deal.
EMT paramedic stuff. Yeah.
Yep, full deal.
It's
And
interesting. The
then-
firefighters up here on Saturday, and I was telling them when they were up here training, I was like, listen, so much of our breaching doctrine and our accessory came out of learning from fire and rescue.
100%.
I mean, it's just like, hey,
Halligan,
what's that?
sledgehammers,
Yeah.
axe, Quickie Saw, all of it.
Yeah.
They use all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The loadout, I found, because I did a little bit of this, the loadouts is so customizable. It's almost like you're in a Call of Duty
Yeah.
lobby.
Yep.
It's like, I'm going to use this silencer, and I'm going to have an extended buttstock, or I'm going to go with this loadout.
I know as an officer, when I'm picking my laptop, I'm like,
Yeah.
I like the light up keyboard.
Yeah.
And then
I like this
the-
radio better
low
than that
visibility.
radio.
Make sure you
Yeah.
change out
Yeah.
my mic's
Exactly.
battery.
Yep.
Like, this is my preferred battery system.
Yeah.
So
But
it's-
I
I
would
like
say,
this coffee mug.
I would say that they're probably already on the ground, right?
Okay.
So if you think logistics wise, it may have been much more feasible and just, time is kind of the essence kind of thing,
Sure.
right? Now I get it. Certain units can deploy anywhere in the world within a handful of hours,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, so sometimes it makes more sense. So there's 25 SEALs total and one K9, so a Belgian Malinois. So
Dude, the Malleys are amazing.
yeah,
the meat missile
yeah.
with
We-
titanium teeth.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
And they look at you like, the dogs that are like less afraid of heights than you.
Yeah.
So you're about to rope out of the bird.
Yeah.
And the dogs
He's
like
just
looking at you
excited.
like chump.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
I've done this more than you.
Yeah. No, and they
It's cool.
have.
They probably
They
have.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they go into raid and they got two chalks, and I want to talk about a couple different elements. This is the Blackhawks that they used, and at the time they were cutting edge, and probably still to a certain extent they are. But this was allegedly a Blackhawk that was significantly quieter and had a different radar signature associated with it, as in it was a little bit more difficult to detect. I thought that was interesting that they would use experimental aircraft on a mission like this.
Well, yeah, I mean, and again, being purely speculative
Sure.
right now, I don't anything I wasn't on. I don't like talking about.
Absolutely. I mean,
Mostly because I'm
yeah,
jealous
I
and I'm
mean-
super upset.
We're going to get
He's
to
like,
the
wait,
bones
y'all
of
want a
this.
game without me, right?
Definitely
and,
if you're-
and nor was I qualified to operate at that level. So let me get those 3 disclaimers out of the way.
Same.
But because you do a lot of running, and then there's math. I'm like, whoa, right.
I don't do math.
That's so funny.
But what's interesting about that is, you look at, and it's a fascinating thing that we deal with right now is, I think in a lot of times we've always enjoyed air superiority.
Yeah.
Right? So if you don't have air superiority, then you have to evade, air detection, right? And that's what I think is fascinating about the ground fighter right now is, with drones and some of the stuff we deal with now, like you don't necessarily, you have strategic air superiority, but a tactical air superiority,
Yeah.
some dude with a bad idea and a Best Buy card can mess you up pretty good. But for the infill piece, I think that was really how do we get there? Well, once you're there, kind of the actions are kind of what they always
Sure.
are. I mean,
Do you think that was clouded because this is also a very interesting operation to me because we crossed international. Well, we crossed into Pakistan. It was from a country that we were occupying at the time. So there's a lot of elements there.
there's a lot of diplomacy, a lot of I mean,
diplomacy.
there's a lot of people that made hard calls.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can be. I mean, at some point in time, politics aside, there's people that are saying, "Yeah, go."
Well, let's
right?
just
And
think
so-
about it from this perspective. If y'all are in Afghanistan, if we're in Afghanistan and we get word that, hey, we think bin Laden could possibly be
Yeah.
in this village, well, let's go spin up. Give us 24
Well, and you look at it, I
hours
mean,
with
we had eyes on allegedly, had eyes on bin Laden in Sudan, and before the whole thing started, right? And there was reluctance on the part of appointees and politicians to, and, we can't go so far as to say, hey, if we hadn't done that, then 9/11 wouldn't have happened. I mean, there probably would have been some iteration, some version of that to a
Absolutely.
degree,
Agreed.
but you always you do gotta respect when people make the hard call, and
Most
you
certainly.
put it on the line. I mean, it's
One of the hardest things to do, I think, is to make a decision.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people get paralysis by
Yeah.
analysis.
thinking is not doing.
Yeah,
Correct.
There's so many
know.
fail safes at that level, though. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So now that once they arrive, I don't know how, and I don't mean to get after these pilots, but how did you not know that you're going to lose pressure when you're coming down into a compound? When one Black Hawk crashes with the rotor wash. Do you remember when that happened? They hover.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and
one of
the
the
other one,
birds,
it's like
yeah.
parachuting, getting your
Yeah.
getting your lift stolen.
Yeah.
That's essentially what happened.
Yeah, I can't fly on one of these video games. So I was like, I keep wrecking this stupid, like I was like, and I mean, one of the things you can anticipate is something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I always respect about men and women who can operate at that level is their ability to adjust and flex, right?
And in regular Army terms, that's a mission criteria no-go. That's a catastrophic event, regardless of.
But the problem is you're already there.
Yeah, you're
so
already
it's a
on the
no-go,
ground,
but you're already there.
Well, you're already in Pakistan as well.
Yeah.
Which is like
allegedly.
They were there.
Well, and I think, but that's so much of your planning cycle is your contingencies.
Yeah.
If this, then that.
Yeah.
If bird one goes down, then we'll all bump to this, and then we'll hoof it, or whatever it is. I would wonder the number of hours that those guys had flying those platforms before they did it. You know what I mean? How much of this stuff in Virginia or Kentucky or wherever
how much
they
is
were,
exportable from that cousin platform that this is
100%,
evolved off of? Right?
100%.
A bunch of my friends, they went from F-14 and F-18, right?
Yep.
So they went from that, and they're like, man, when you made a turn on the F-14, it was like, turning an F-150. And the F-18, like, you think about it,
You're in a
and
race
you're
car.
like, no, you're turning left, right?
Yeah.
So that whole mission lasted 40 minutes. So as of right now, we've been talking for 10 minutes. So that kind of puts in a little bit of perspective. But I think that's quick.
It's impressive.
That's very quick, and it's very impressive considering all the moving parts. 3 males were killed and 1 woman who was being used as a shield. That's for the target that you extracted from that battlefield. And again, I'm not qualified to make this statement, but as an American, okay, I'm good with those numbers. Yes, we'll take those numbers 10 times out of 10 with the H.
But I think one of the things that you saw people respond to is the concept of a female being used as a shield.
Yeah.
A lot of us would tell you, like, this why do we say we're so confident that evil exists is when you see that pretty routinely.
Sure.
When you see children, when you see women being used as human shields, and you're like, that's an evil person that's willing to do that. Right?
We were on a fob one time that had I forget the name of the technology, but basically if there was something, some ordnance that was shot, we could get a lob and fire back. And that technology had progressed, and we could pretty much get a grid location, and we fired back. And what happened was there were some kids involved, but the bad guys were using children around them, and you hear about it a lot, but. Some of me, I was always thinking, like, do they really? Yes, they most certainly do. And those kids pay the ultimate price that day. And when I went to that battle damage site, like, I felt like something was yanked out of me.
Yeah.
And so it's never easy to deal with, and we don't take that stuff.
So let someone go too far. Is there absolute evil? Let me shorten that conversation for you. The answer is
real
yes.
quick.
Yeah.
Well,
yes.
Go ahead, Pete. Sorry.
No, but just imagine again, right? That helo ride, you're flying in. You know you're going after probably the most protected dude that you have been chasing for a long time.
Yeah.
I've been on a target where, hey, the threat of a suicide vest is through the roof. At 10 out of 10, it's going to happen. And the whole time you're like, cool, I can prosecute a target, but if I'm a split second later, if I shoot the wrong guy first, you're done.
All these things beyond me.
Is this whole house completely wired? Are they all just going to go to the big man?
Like, it's one of these things. I kind of go back to my football career, and I really, as I got older, I began to respect and appreciate. I mean, I always appreciated my teammates in the other positions, but you look at certain positions and you look at the dependency on things going right. Yeah. So as a linebacker, like, I got to impose my will on a lot. I was dependent on the defensive line to do stuff, and then it was amazing. But man, you look at these receivers, and they're just trusting that quarterback's going to throw when it's supposed to throw. I mean, and they're putting themselves in harm's way. I mean, just kind of like. The O-line's got to do what O-line's got to do. The quarterback's be able to throw it as fast as he said he was going to fast it when he was going to. And you're kind of like, all right, man, I'm going to turn around. And you look at these guys, you're like, gosh, dang, man, that's a super impressive level of trust. But,
I remember that, when it was go, no-go time and you got tagged to go do one of these types of missions, there was like, there's no excuses. There's no you're supposed to perform. That's what we're paying you to do. You've been brought. We spent a lot of money doing this for you, and there was like you carried that around with you, like, hey man, it's go time right now. I don't want to see
selfishly,
no
that's why a lot of us kept going and going and going. Right? I mean, you can never ever replicate that feeling of being on.
You want the ball, like you want it,
100%.
And I'm deferential to both of you. Both of you guys have done way more than me.
Well, it's like once you get that first touchdown, it's like, I may have got 3 concussions on the way, but I'm gonna get 3 more.
Oh,
I mean, there's a shot of. There's a shot of soul food there that's pretty potent.
If you could bottle up that feeling of sitting on the ramp, you're strapped in with your little pigtail. The ramp's down, you're looking through your tubes, and it just looks like the 4th of July. And that feeling, I mean, I think it's got to be like you're in the Super Bowl, you're getting ready to run out of the tunnel, and just
It's
everything.
a culmination.
Everything is right, and it's go time. Like,
Yeah.
dude, if you could bottle that up, you'd be a billionaire.
Oh yeah. So the other thing that I found about Neptune's Spear that just really got me was the Situation Room in the White House.
Yeah.
You know, the intensity there. They've got obviously some pictures that have been leaked or publicly broadcasted, and the intensity on these people's faces.
It's
knowing
real.
what's at stake. Not to I mean, soldiers' lives aside. Well, a few times we'll be able to say that because this is an international incident. And there's a lot of people out there worried about what could happen, what are the implications. And I think that the pictures that were taken that day in that room in the video really captured that.
They were powerful.
They were very powerful. They said that, I believe that they said initially that there was a live feed. I'm pretty sure that that's not true, but I think that they were on some type of delayed feed and or constant updates. Do y'all know anything about that? What the
I don't know.
capabilities are?
I don't know. I can't speak to that one.
Yeah. But it looked as though they're all huddled around computers and had a big screen. So afterwards, they do, obviously they kind of went after the place, tore it apart, looked for intel, but I heard that the amount of intel that we received from that was just like a treasure trove.
Probably significant.
And I'm sure it was probably dead information after a few months, but they probably found out some things that were happening that didn't necessarily know or couldn't defend.
Well, they were in the works. Right.
That may have been within the works. Yeah, I actually heard that too. This site that I'm on doesn't allude to it, but there were several large-scale operations that they were looking into doing, and that we may have been able to throw a wrench into it.
But think about the message that sends to every bad guy on the planet.
Yeah.
We've been looking for the hardest guy to find for a long time.
Yep.
We found him. Not only that, we're willing to go into a whole other country that we're not really allowed to go and do this
Right.
kind of thing in.
Yeah.
And we're going to go and kill you.
Don't test our resolve ever
Yeah.
again. This is 10, 15 years in the making.
Well, I think
and-
George
Yeah.
Washington kind of laid that out. Like, was it Christmas Eve? It's freezing? Yeah, let's
Yep,
go.
across Delaware.
Yeah.
Where's your lunch money?
Yep.
Yeah, we're
First
gonna get,
U.S. amphibious raid, right? Or one of them. Yep.
I love it. Then the ultimate choice, they buried him at sea. My opinion on that, and I think what they've reported on, is the fact that they didn't want a shrine of sorts to be erected in his memory. And I agree with that. And then also, they wanted to take away some of the kind of static and noise that they would get from the Muslim community by not handling it properly. From what I understood, that they actually went above and beyond with respect to handling of a dead Muslim or a follower of the Islam faith, so that they could kind of mitigate any type of bad press. So, kind of props to them.
Whatever they did was really well thought out.
Agreed.
Very intentional.
It's
There's very little from on the continuum. There's a level of depth of thought of both secondary and tertiary effects of this. If this, then this, then this, and that's the level of kind of thinking that you want from that level of command, that level of operator, and that level of decision maker. So. Yeah, it's certainly something to be proud of.
It makes sense, though, right? If you're going to do execute an operation of that magnitude, don't you want to be armed with a complete, detailed picture and sketch of the battlefield and all the noise that could possibly happen?
That's one of the things I was always so impressed with as the war got on, is just the level of awareness of secondary and tertiary effects that was driven down and distributed at almost all levels. I mean. And this one of the things that's so fun for us now is, there's a lot of guys that sometimes went in the military because they thought they were dumb. Because the K through 12 environment celebrates a particular kind of genius, sometimes at the expense of all others. And all of a sudden, you see these young men who thought they were dumb and they're brilliant. And you're just like, man.
Yep.
And
They thrive in it.
Yeah, and you're telling this 20-year-old kid, you're like, man, that's Wharton MIT level of decision making with no margin.
Yeah.
And it's not somebody else's money and somebody else's life, and that's one of the things I think is so fun to celebrate now. Is guys come back and like, hey sir, I got kicked out of college. I'm like, why? They're like, well, it said no shirt, no shoes, no service. I'm like, cool. I had a shirt and shoes on. Yeah. Oh, I wasn't wearing pants. I'm like, man, they don't have to point that out. And you and I know what we're talking about right there, right? And but I mean, like, man, you can't. You have to be smart, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to celebrate guys for the intellect they didn't know they had, and then the aperture that broadens for the rest of their lives. Like, man, I was able to think my way through that problem.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get dudes whose brilliance just get discovered during battle, and then our job is to make them remember they were brilliant. So they increasingly elevate the standard for themselves and each other. Right.
That's true. Yeah, because a lot of that, especially when you're operating at a high athletic ability, or level. Same thing when you're operating at that type of level. You expire quickly. Your shelf life.
That's right. There's only two kinds of lines. There's old lines and lines that don't get old.
Yep.
And the lines that don't get old, I mean, they're the ones that fail to conserve energy, to reduce inefficiencies. I mean, it's like, that's one of the things we say. We say slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I mean, you give yourself a time to learn something. Then when you apply it under pressure, it's smooth, and smooth is always fast.
Absolutely.
And then you take those lessons learned, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at Deion Sanders. And now he's coaching football, right?
Yeah.
High school. How good?
No, he's coaching college now.
Oh, shit. How good are those kids going to be, though?
And the crazy thing is, I mean, he still trains.
Yeah.
I mean, like he's a coach that can go, hey, do it like this.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there watching your coach going, on my best day, I'm never going to be able to do
Yeah,
like
your
that.
feet my feet can't do that.
Yeah, like it's like if Dick Buckus was ever my linebacker coach, I'd be like, "Thank you, Mister." I feel like a kid in the mean, like everything.
Yes, sir.
Do your version of this. Like, okay, it's not going to be as good, but thank you, Mister.
Thank you, sir.
I feel like a kid in the
You don't have to call him
Coca-Cola
sir.
commercials.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Stop me. Sorry. I mean, sir.
Yes. Oh,
Boss.
I'm so nervous.
Yeah. It's all about getting that.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah.
Right? But then it's the same thing. You take a guy from that troop that went and did that and then comes back to a regular squadron or a regular platoon, gets out into the real world, and how he can translate, he or she can translate that information and that skill set to make everybody else around him better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I
That's
mean,
the
two
beauty
things.
of it,
Two
man.
things you can guarantee: nothing's going to go as planned.
Yep.
And the person's flexes first wins, right? And you come out of the military experience with an ability to anticipate adversity. Like, I think most of us are just get nervous when everything's going great. Everything's going great. Like,
Something bad's going to happen.
The only guy that can make a bad play and go this well is the bad guy.
Yep.
It's called an ambush.
Yeah. I'm going to have to
And
E&E
then-
really far
yeah,
right
exactly.
now. I'm already
oh,
tired.
it's going so well for so long.
It's quiet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mentality.
You get on the bird. I remember we got on the bird one time. She was like, "We gotta get off." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Well, there's no hydraulic fluid leaking." I'm like, "Why is that bad?" He goes, "That means there's no more hydraulic fluid." I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get it.
He said it twice, so it must mean something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you one more thing. What kind of catastrophic plans do you think would be in place? They obviously had some. Do you think that there are QRF, quick reaction forces? Because again, I want to stress this. They're in Pakistan.
Yeah,
right?
as you read a lot of the after actions, and again, this is speculative.
I'm asking, what do you think?
Because I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, at some point in time, it becomes a hardened up and diplomatic resolution.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like
you're
not going to fight your way out of there.
They were next to Pakistan's West Point, the equivalent of. That was one of the largest kind of officer training, and they had an airfield there with bombers. So, I just was kind of curious about that. It's like, hey, how much water can we afford to throw on this fire before we're like, hey, let's just, let's
Yeah, it was remarkable. It was remarkable. It was remarkable. And that's what's fun about the kind of this whole missionology piece of the ologies is to look at spectacular missions in the past. And I think sometimes looking at missions that you look at the Sante raid, and in theory, from a in-state perspective, it didn't go well, but it was extraordinarily successful other than the fact that the prisoners had just been moved.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But we elevated the craft, and we still look at that. We still look at that raid, one man synchronicity, and all these other things.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's a stunning display of skill and decisiveness and action that we all should rightly be proud of.
Yeah.
And the people that planned it, coordinated, supported it, and validated it, more than most.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, because I think you go down the whole military decision-making process, and you look at that, and then if you were to go back to Operation Red Wings, you've got a handful of guys on the ground. Now you put in a QRF, and then how many more guys did you lose?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're the guy on the ground, like, dude, I don't care. I'm going to go get my brother.
Yeah.
I will run there. I don't care.
Yeah,
So
very
that's
true.
kind of hard, too, of like, I mean, if you're doing a compartmentalized mission set, people around you kind of know, like, oh, they're in isolation right now.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to do something cool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. Well, if something goes sideways, like, I'm going to come get you, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do?
Because whatever you're not telling me about is probably going to be pretty bad.
It's going to be really cool, right? Yeah. And then if it's a SEAL, they're going to write a book. Sorry, I just had to,
Or
sorry, I just had to get that one.
Or
But for this, definitely write a book. Like, that's pretty damn cool. But
Has that been done yet?
I don't know. I don't. All I know is Chuck Norris made 7 Delta Force movies in the 80s. So everybody's seen it.
Hey guys, thanks for listening in today. We're gonna try and do D-Day, and actually, Pete, now that you say Operation Red Wings, I think that would be fun too.
I'm excited about go back to antiquity.
Yeah.
Like one of the things we were talking about before this one is the very first documented combat search and rescue was Abraham going after Lot. And Genesis, you look at Genesis, like constant reduction of force, reduction of speed, and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Here's the problem: like you look at a CSAR back in the day, there's a lot of running. So if you're like, hey, Clint's on strip alert, if anything happens, like how far is that run?
in sandals,
I don't know. We're probably gonna have to negotiate because this is gonna take Clint a little bit, unless it's all downhill. I'm fast downhill.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening in. This is Ross with Clint and Pete, and we'll see y'all next week. Later.
Bye-bye.
see ya.
What was that at?